He never came to the second window. My name is Thomas, and for 2 years the drive-through window at a rundown Burger King was my entire world after midnight. The hours never bothered me. From 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. the restaurant felt detached from reality. Quiet roads, humming lights, and the occasional drunk customer slurring an order. Most nights were forgettable. Until the man in the black sedan showed up. He ordered a large double Whopper with cheese, Coke, no changes. His voice was calm, almost bored. When he pulled up to the payment window, he cracked his window just enough to slide his card through. I couldn't see his face. The glass was too dark. He paid, and then drove away. At first I thought it was a mistake. I waited at the pickup window, bag in hand, watching his taillights disappear down the empty road. He never came back. Eventually, I ate the food myself. A week later, it happened again. Same car, same voice, same order, same vanishing act. By the third time, I knew it wasn't an accident. Every 4 or 5 nights between 1 and 3 a.m., he came, paid, left. I stopped questioning it. Free food was free food. I even started expecting him, like some strange routine we shared without ever meeting. Then one night, everything changed. He placed the order like usual, paused and said quietly, "I hope you've been enjoying those Whoppers, Mr. Hurley." My blood went cold. I never gave my last name. It wasn't on my badge. It wasn't anywhere customers could see. I asked who he was. I demanded to know how he knew my name. He didn't answer. His engine revved and he sped away without paying this time. When I got home that morning, there was a note taped to my front door. "I know what you did. You have 3 days." I stared at it until my hands started shaking. I had no idea what it meant. I hadn't done anything. I lived a boring life. Work, sleep, video games. That was it. 2 nights later, he came back. This time, he didn't order food. He gave me an address, told me to bring $10,000, said I had 48 hours. I laughed. Then I realized he wasn't joking. I didn't pay. The night after the deadline, a rock came through my bedroom window. The police couldn't help. No cameras, no leads. Now I'm back at work, back at the drive-thru. Every car makes my heart jump, because sooner or later, I know that black sedan is going to pull up again. And next time, I don't think he's going to leave before the second window. He finally reached the second window. I didn't quit my job. I told myself it was because I needed the money. Rent doesn't care if you're scared. But the truth was worse. I needed to know why. Why me? Why the Whoppers? Why the threats? Every shift after the rock came through my window felt heavier. The drive-through speaker crackled and popped like it was breathing. Every pair of headlights crawling toward the menu board made my stomach knot. 3 nights after the police visit, at exactly 2:17 a.m., the black sedan returned. I knew it before he spoke. Same engine, same slow roll to the speaker, same calm, unhurried voice. Large double Whopper with cheese, Coke. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the headset. I said nothing. I just rang it up. When he pulled to the first window, I did something I'd never done before. I leaned forward. I wanted to see him. Just once. The window slid down an inch. I saw his eye. Only one. Wide, unblinking, bloodshot. Way too close to the glass. "You didn't bring the money," he said. "I told the police," I whispered. "I told them everything." He laughed softly. "I know." He paid, slowly this time, deliberately. Then, he didn't drive away. For the first time ever, he pulled forward, to the second window. My chest tightened. I grabbed the bag like it could protect me. The sedan stopped inches from the glass. The window rolled down farther than before. I saw his face. It was older than I expected. Gaunt. Skin stretched tight like it didn't belong to him. His mouth was smiling, but his eyes weren't focused on me. They were focused past me. "Do you recognize me, Thomas?" he asked. I shook my head. He tilted his head. "You should. You waved me through." My mind scrambled. "I've never—" "2 years ago," he interrupted. "Rainy night, drive-through backed up. You were tired. You were in a hurry." My stomach dropped. "I told you my card wasn't working," he continued. "I told you I'd come back and pay. You believed me." I remembered. A man in a dark sedan, a declined card, my manager yelling from the back, me waving him through just to keep the line moving. "You didn't see the kid in the back seat," he said. My ears started ringing. "I told myself it wasn't your fault," he went on. "But then I saw you again. Same place, same window, same late nights." He leaned closer. "So I started buying you dinner. Wanted to see how long it would take before you noticed." My knees nearly gave out. "You owe me," he whispered. "And debts don't disappear." His smile widened. "Tomorrow night," he said. "If you're not home when I knock, I'll come back here instead." He took the bag. And this time, he didn't drive away. The man who never needed to knock. He didn't leave. That was the worst part. The black sedan sat at the second window, engine idling, headlights washing the stainless steel in a sick yellow glow. I stood frozen, bag gone, hands empty, heart hammering so hard I thought it might set off the smoke alarm. "You're holding up the line," he said calmly. There was no line. The parking lot was empty. No cars, no movement. Just him and me and the low hum of the Friars behind my back. "I can't leave my station," I said, my voice barely working. He smiled wider. "You already left it once." I slammed the window shut and hit the lock. My manager wasn't there. Overnight, I was alone, like always. I backed away from the glass, grabbed my phone and dialed 911 with shaking fingers. No signal. That didn't make sense. I always had service. A soft knock came from the glass. One finger. Tap. 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 "I'm patient, Thomas," he said through the window. "I waited 2 years." The lights flickered. Every screen in the kitchen went black at once. The Friars shut off. The humming died. The silence that replaced it felt wrong. Too thick, like the air had weight. Then the drive-through headset crackled to life. Not from my ear. From the speaker outside. I'm inside already. My chest seized. I spun around. The back hallway door, employee only, was open. I never heard it unlock. Footsteps echoed slowly across the tile. Wet footsteps. I backed into the corner, clutching a metal tray like it was a weapon. The footsteps stopped just out of sight. "You know why I chose you?" he asked, his voice now behind me and everywhere at once. "Because you looked away." He stepped into the light. Up close, he didn't look fully real. His skin hung wrong. His eyes were glassy, unfocused, like they were looking through me instead of at me. "You tell yourself it was busy," he continued. "That you didn't know. That you couldn't have stopped it." My mouth opened, but no sound came out. "The kid screamed," he said softly. "You turned the music up." That broke me. "I didn't know," I sobbed. "I swear I didn't know." He tilted his head, studied me. "Maybe," he said, "but that doesn't change what happened." He took a step closer. "You can still make it right." The light surged back on. The screens blinked to life. The front doors burst open, and suddenly the place was full of sound again. Friars, freezers, life. The man was gone. No footprints, no car, no sign he was ever there. I quit that night. I moved back in with my parents. I don't work nights anymore. I don't eat fast food. I don't ignore anything. But sometimes when I'm half asleep, I swear I hear a familiar voice drifting through the dark. Calm, patient. "Second window, Thomas." My name is Alex, and for almost 2 years I worked the overnight shift at a fast food restaurant just off the highway, midnight to 4 in the morning. The kind of job where time stretches, the lights hum too loudly, and every car feels like a potential problem. Most nights were painfully boring. Drunk college kids, truck drivers half asleep, the usual. Then the same order started showing up. A large burger meal, extra cheese, Coke, always between 1 and 2 a.m. The first time I didn't think much of it. The guy paid at the first window, barely rolling his tinted window down, and then drove off without picking up the food. Free dinner for me. Weird, but not alarming. A week later it happened again. Same order, same voice, same behavior. By the third time, I knew it wasn't a coincidence. I started joking to myself about my midnight sponsor. Every few nights, I'd hear that calm, forgettable voice through the speaker, make the food and wait for him to disappear. And every time he did. Until the night he didn't. When he pulled up, he ordered as usual. Then, just before I could tell him his total, he added something else. "Hope you're enjoying the meals, Alex." My stomach dropped. I never wore a name tag with my last name. But I also never said my first name over the speaker. There was no reason he should know it. I asked who he was, asked how he knew my name. My voice shook, and I hated that he could probably hear it. He didn't answer. Instead, his engine revved, and he sped away, without paying. I didn't sleep that day. The next evening, when I got home from my shift, there was a folded piece of paper taped to my apartment door. 3 words, written in shaky handwriting. "You owe me." 2 days later, he came back. He didn't order food this time. He told me to write down an address, somewhere outside town. Then he told me I had 48 hours to bring $10,000. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my brain refused to accept it. I never went. On the 3rd night, my bedroom window shattered. The police said there wasn't much they could do. I quit my job the next morning. A week passed. Then 2. I thought it was over. Until one night, driving home from my new job, I pulled into my apartment parking lot and saw a familiar car parked in my usual spot. Engine off, lights out. The driver's side window rolled down slowly, and that same calm voice said, "Next time, don't forget to pick up your order." The order was already paid for. I worked nights at a 24-hour diner just outside the city. It was the kind of place truckers stopped at. The kind where the neon sign buzzed louder than the conversations inside. From midnight to sunrise, it was usually just me, the cook, and whoever wandered in. One night around 2:17 a.m., a man walked in and sat at the last booth near the bathrooms. He didn't look threatening. Mid-30s, average build, dark jacket. What stood out was how still he sat. No phone, no menu, just hands folded on the table, staring straight ahead. I brought him a menu anyway. He didn't take it. "I already ordered," he said. I checked my notepad. Nothing written down. "Sorry," I told him. "I don't have anything for that table." He smiled slightly. "It's already paid for." Something about the way he said it made my skin crawl, but I shrugged it off. Maybe the cook messed up. I went back to the counter and asked. The cook shook his head. No order. When I turned around, the man was gone. The booth was empty. No footprints. No sound of the door opening. Just gone. I figured I imagined it. Night shifts mess with your head. The next night he came back. Same booth, same posture, same calm expression. "I'm waiting on my order," he said. I swallowed and told him I didn't see it in the system. He leaned forward slightly. "That's strange. I've been ordering here for a long time." I asked him what he wanted. He named a meal that wasn't on the menu. I laughed nervously and told him we didn't serve that. His smile disappeared. "That's not what you said last time." I was sure I'd never spoken to him before. Before I could respond, the cook shouted from the kitchen that an order was ready. Sitting on the counter was a plate I didn't recognize. No ticket, no receipt. I didn't bring it to the booth. When I looked again, the man was gone. The plate was cold. Things escalated fast after that. He started showing up every night, sometimes sitting, sometimes standing near the door. Once I saw him reflected in the coffee machine behind me even though the diner was empty. Each time he insisted the same thing. The order is paid for. On the 5th night he said my name. I never told him my name. He slid something across the table toward me. A crumpled receipt, yellowed with age. It had today's date, and my name printed at the top. I backed away. The lights flickered. The diner went quiet. No hum, no kitchen noise, nothing. He stood up. "You took my place," he said calmly. "Now it's your turn to serve." The lights went out. When they came back on, I was alone. The cook was gone. The door was locked. The phone had no signal. On the counter was a new receipt. Order, 1 server. Status, paid in full. I quit the next morning. The diner shut down a week later. But sometimes, driving past abandoned buildings at night, I swear I see the neon glow flicker back on, and a booth waiting for someone new. The last call came from inside. I worked overnight as a dispatcher for a small taxi company, midnight to 6 a.m. It was just me in the office, a wall of cameras, a coffee pot that never stayed hot, and a phone that almost never rang after 3 a.m. Almost. One night, at exactly 3:33 a.m., the phone rang. The caller didn't give a name, just an address on the far edge of town, an old neighborhood most drivers avoided. I confirmed the pickup and sent a car anyway. 10 minutes later, the driver called back. "No one's here," he said. "House looks abandoned." I apologized and marked it as a no-show. At 3:33 the next night, the phone rang again. Same address, same calm, flat voice. I told the caller no one was there the night before. A pause. "I was," the voice said. "You just didn't look hard enough." I sent another driver. Again, no passenger. That's when I noticed something strange. Every time the call came in, the office cameras glitched, just for a second, like someone was walking past the lens. On the third night, I didn't send a driver. At 3:33, the phone rang. "You're supposed to send someone," the voice said. I told him we couldn't service that address anymore. Another pause. Then he said my full name. My hands went cold. "I'll come to you instead." The phone went dead. I locked the office door and checked the cameras. The parking lot was empty. The hallway camera, though, camera 4, showed movement. A man standing just outside the office door. His face was blurred, like the camera couldn't focus on him properly. He lifted his hand and knocked. Once, twice, 3 times. The phone rang again. I answered without thinking. "I'm here for my ride," the voice said. I whispered that I'd called the police. "That's fine," he replied. "They won't see me." The hallway lights flickered. Camera 4 went black. Then the knocking stopped. I stayed locked inside until sunrise. The police found nothing. No fingerprints, no signs of forced entry, no footage. I quit that week. The office closed a month later, but sometimes when my phone rings late at night and I don't recognize the number, I let it go to voicemail. Because once, out of curiosity, I listened to one. All it said was, "Your ride has arrived." I worked overnight cleaning in a downtown office building. It was cheap labor, low supervision, and the kind of job where no one cared what you did as long as the floors looked decent by morning. The building had 12 floors, but after 10 p.m. only 3 were accessible: lobby, parking, and the floor my crew worked on. Or at least, that's what I was told. The elevator started stopping on its own around 2 a.m. The first time I thought I'd leaned against a button. The doors opened on the 7th floor, lights off, hallway dark. No signage, no sound. I closed the doors and kept going. The second time it stopped again. 7th floor. I radioed my supervisor. He laughed and said the elevator software glitches sometimes. "Just don't get off," he told me. I listened. Until the third night. At 2:14 a.m. the elevator stopped, and this time the lights on the 7th floor were on. Dim, yellow, like they'd been waiting. The hallway smelled wrong, old carpet and something damp. I stood in the doorway, heart pounding, telling myself I wouldn't step out. Then someone spoke. "You're late." The voice came from down the hall, calm, familiar. I slammed the door button, but nothing happened. The doors stayed open. A figure stepped into the light. "They keep sending new ones," he said, "but no one stays." The lights flickered. The elevator jerked. I don't remember running out. I don't remember the ride down. I just remember standing in the lobby afterward, shaking, watching the doors close. The next morning I asked about the 7th floor. No one answered. On my last night I noticed something new taped inside the elevator. A faded inspection notice. Floors in service, 1 to 6, 8 to 12. Floor 7, closed permanently. I quit that night. Last week I ran into a former coworker. He asked if I ever figured out why the elevator stopped on 7. I told him I didn't. He looked confused. "There is no seventh floor," he said. The man who never picked up his order. My name is Evan, and for almost 2 years I worked the night shift at a Burger King just off the highway. Midnight to 4 a.m. The kind of hours where the world feels thinner, quieter, like something could slip through the cracks without anyone noticing. Most nights were painfully boring. Drunk customers, tired truckers, the hum of fluorescent lights. Until the man in the black sedan started showing up. The first time, nothing felt wrong. He ordered a large double Whopper meal. Normal voice, normal order. When he reached the payment window, he cracked his window just enough to pass his card through. His windows were pitch black. I couldn't see his face. He paid, and then drove off. Didn't come to the second window. Didn't pick up the food. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. Eventually, I set the bag aside and ate it myself. Free food happens. I forgot about it. A week later, it happened again. Same car, same voice, same order. Paid, drove away. By the third time, I knew it wasn't a coincidence. Every 4 or 5 nights, always between 1 and 3 a.m., the same man would buy food and disappear. I joked to myself that I had a secret sponsor. Then one night he said something extra. "I hope you've been enjoying the meals, Evan." I froze. I never gave him my name. My last name wasn't on my tag. I hadn't told anyone at work my full name. My throat went dry as I asked who he was, how he knew me. He didn't answer. This time he didn't even come to the window. His engine revved and the car vanished into the dark. When I got home that morning, there was a note taped to my apartment door. "I know what you did. 2 days." I stood there shaking, trying to understand what crime my boring life could possibly be hiding. I barely slept. The next night at work, he came back. No food order, just an address. "Drop off $10,000, he said calmly, "or I start reminding you." I laughed out of fear. I didn't have $10,000. I ignored him. 2 days later, a brick came through my bedroom window at 3 a.m. That's when I called the police. They took a report, they checked the address, nothing. No cameras caught his face, no plate number. Just a pattern of fear and silence. I quit the job a week later. But here's the thing that still keeps me awake. Every once in a while, when I pass a Burger King late at night, I see a black sedan sitting at the speaker, waiting. And I swear, it never goes to the second window. I thought quitting the job would end it. That was my biggest mistake. For a while, things were quiet. No notes, no broken windows, no black sedan lurking outside my apartment. I started convincing myself it had all been some elaborate scare tactic that lost interest once I disappeared. Then the emails started. The first one came from an address made of random letters and numbers. No subject line, just a single sentence. "You forgot your last order." My stomach dropped. I deleted it and tried to forget. But the next night another email arrived. "Double Whopper, large fries, Coke, still warm when you left it behind." Only one other person knew that exact order. I unplugged my laptop and didn't sleep. Around 3 a.m. my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't answer. A photo came through seconds later. It was my old Burger King, the drive-through speaker, taken from inside a car, time-stamped less than a minute earlier. I called the police again. They told me to block the number and report any physical contact. Same script, same helplessness. 2 nights later, I noticed something wrong with my Uber app. Someone had left me a review. 1 star. The comment read, "You should have taken the food." I stopped driving after that. I barely left the house. Groceries delivered, curtains closed, lights off at night. I started jumping at every sound, the elevator, footsteps in the hallway, cars passing too slowly outside. Then one evening there was a knock at the door. Just one. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Another knock, calm, patient. A voice followed, muffled through the door. "I paid for that meal, Evan." I grabbed my phone and locked myself in the bathroom. While dialing 911, I heard something slide across the floor outside. Paper. The operator answered as I picked it up. Another note. "Last chance. Come pick it up yourself." An address was written underneath. I didn't go. The police arrived, searched the building, found nothing. No neighbors saw anyone. No cameras caught him. That night I dreamed I was back at work, standing at the drive-through window. The speaker crackled. Same order. But when I opened the second window, the bag was already sitting there. Cold. Heavy. Something inside it moved. I woke up screaming. The next morning I found my front door unlocked. Nothing was missing. Except something new was sitting on my kitchen table. A Burger King receipt, dated 3 days in the future. My name was printed at the top, and at the bottom in bold letters, picked up. I don't know how much time I have left. All I know is this. Somewhere out there is a man who keeps paying for meals no one eats. And I think the next one is meant for me. I tried running. That's the part nobody talks about in stories like this. The moment where you realize hiding isn't working, and staying feels worse than leaving. I packed a bag, grabbed my laptop, and drove 3 hours to my cousin's place in another city. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I even left my phone off most of the drive. For the first night I slept. Really slept. No knocks, no emails, no dreams of drive-through speakers whispering my name. The next morning my cousin left for work and I was alone in the apartment. I made coffee, turned on the TV, and for the first time in weeks, I felt almost normal. Then the doorbell rang. I froze. I checked the peephole. No one there. I opened the door slowly. On the welcome mat sat a paper bag. Burger King. Fresh. Grease already soaking through the bottom. My hands shook as I pulled the receipt from the side. Order for Evan pickup time. 2:17 a.m. The city on the receipt was the one I'd just arrived in. I threw the bag in the trash and backed away like it might explode. That's when I noticed something else printed below the order. Employee on duty. You. I didn't wait for my cousin to come home. I got in my car and drove until my tank was almost empty. Somewhere between exits, my phone turned itself back on. No missed calls. One new notification. A calendar reminder I didn't create. Shift starts at 1 a.m. That night, exhaustion caught up with me. I passed out in my car at a rest stop. When I woke up, my mouth tasted like grease and salt. There was a Burger King bag in the passenger seat. I screamed. I don't even remember stopping myself. I shoved the door open and stumbled out into the cold air, gasping. I checked the locks, checked the windows. Nothing was broken. Inside the bag was food, still warm, and beneath it, my old name tag. I knew then that this wasn't about money, or guilt, or some mistake from my past. This was about routine. I went back to my apartment the next day. Something inside me understood the rules now. Running only made him closer. I waited. At 1:12 a.m., the drive-through speaker in my dreams crackled again. At 1:14, my doorbell rang. When I opened the door, the hallway was empty. But at my feet sat a full uniform, hat, apron, visor, all neatly folded. The note on top said, "You've been eating for free long enough. Tonight you work." I don't remember putting the uniform on. I don't remember driving. But I remember standing under fluorescent lights, the smell of oil thick in the air, staring at a drive-through monitor that read, "One order pending." The speaker hissed, same voice, same calm tone. "I'll pay at the first window," he said. "And this time, don't let it go cold." Behind me, the kitchen lights flicked on, and I realized with absolute certainty, I was never the customer. I was the replacement. If you want part 4, Ken. The man who never picked up his order. My name is Thomas, and for 2 years my world existed under fluorescent lights and the constant hum of a Burger King drive-thru. I worked the late shift, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., the hours most people avoided. I liked the quiet. Fewer customers, fewer problems. At least, that's what I thought. The first time it happened, I didn't think much of it. A man pulled up just after midnight and ordered a large double Whopper with cheese, fries, and a Coke. His voice was calm, almost bored. When he reached the payment window, he cracked his window just enough to slide his card through. His windows were darkly tinted. I never saw his face. He paid, and then drove away. He never came to the pickup window. I waited. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Eventually, my manager told me to toss the order. I didn't. I ate it during my break. Free food was free food. A week later it happened again. Same order, same voice, same tinted windows, same disappearing act. By the third time I knew it wasn't a coincidence. Every 4 or 5 nights, always between 1 and 3 a.m. he would come, order the same meal, pay, leave. I started joking to myself that I had a secret sponsor, some rich stranger buying me dinner from the shadows. Then one night everything changed. I heard his voice through the speaker and already felt that strange familiarity tighten in my chest. He ordered the usual. Then just before I could respond, he added softly, "I hope you've been enjoying those Whoppers, Mr. Hurley." My blood ran cold. My last name isn't on my name tag, it's not on receipts. It's nowhere customers can see. I demanded to know who he was. I asked how he knew my name. My voice cracked as I repeated the question over and over. He never answered. Instead, I heard his engine rev, and he sped away without paying. I didn't sleep that morning. When I got home, a folded piece of paper was sitting neatly on my doorstep. "I know what you did. You have 3 days." I stared at it until my hands started shaking. I had no idea what he was talking about. I'd done nothing. I was just a broke 24-year-old trying to survive. The next night at work, he returned. This time, he didn't order food. He told me to write down an address, somewhere far outside town. Then he told me I had 2 days to deliver $10,000. I laughed until I got home and found my bedroom window shattered by a rock. That's when I called the police. They told me they'd keep an eye out. 3 days later, nothing had stopped. I was too scared to work, too broke to quit, too trapped to run. Then I realized something that still haunts me. Every time he bought those meals, he was proving he knew my schedule, my habits, my name. He wasn't buying me food. He was watching me. And whoever he is, he hasn't come back yet, which scares me more than if he had. My name is Thomas, and I used to work the late shift at a Burger King just off the highway. Midnight hours attract strange people, but most of them are harmless, drunk, tired, or just passing through. I thought I'd seen it all. I was wrong. It started with a man who never picked up his food. The first time he ordered a large double Whopper meal. His voice was calm, forgettable. When he reached the payment window, he lowered his tinted window only enough to slide his card through. I handed him the receipt, turned to grab his food, and when I looked back, his car was gone. I shrugged it off and ate the meal myself. A week later, it happened again. Same order, same car, same behavior. By the third time, I knew it was intentional. Someone was buying me food every few nights and vanishing before the second window. I didn't complain. Working nights messes with your sense of normal, and free meals helped. Then one night, just after 2 a.m., the voice returned. "Same order," he said. I smiled, already expecting my free dinner, until he added, "I hope you've been enjoying those meals, Mr. Hurley." My blood ran cold. I never wore my last name on my uniform. It wasn't visible anywhere. There was no reason for a customer to know it. I asked who he was. I asked how he knew my name. He didn't answer. Instead, his engine revved and he drove off without paying. When I got home that night, there was a note on my doorstep. "I know what you did 3 days. I couldn't think of a single thing I'd done wrong. I lived with my parents, worked fast food, and drove Uber on weekends. I didn't have secrets worth blackmailing. 3 days passed. Nothing happened. Then my apartment window shattered while I was watching TV. A rock lay on the floor beneath broken glass. Whoever threw it was already gone. That's when I quit working nights. I started driving Uber more often instead, sticking mostly to weekends. One Saturday around 1:30 a.m., I accepted a long ride far outside the city. The fare was too good to ignore. On my way back, alone on a dark road, I saw a car stopped ahead with its hazard lights on. A couple stood in front of it, waving frantically. They warned me of a collapsed bridge ahead, and insisted I turn down a narrow dirt road through the woods. Something about their voices felt rehearsed, too calm beneath the urgency. I thanked them and kept driving. The bridge was fine. A few days later, curiosity pulled me back in daylight. At the dirt road entrance, someone had nailed a sign to a tree. Dead end. It hadn't been there before. As I stepped out of my car, I heard a woman scream, deep in the woods. I ran. That night, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. You passed again. That's when I realized the truth. Someone wasn't stalking me. They were watching me, testing whether I'd stop or keep driving. And now, every time I see someone stranded on the road at night, I pull over. Because I don't know what happens if I don't. And I'm not ready to find out. I didn't tell anyone about the message. You passed again. I should have. The police, my parents, anyone. But the words felt personal, like a whisper meant only for me. Once you say something like that out loud, it becomes real. And I wasn't ready for it to be real. For weeks after the scream in the woods, nothing happened. No notes, no messages, no black sedans. I started to believe it was over. Then, late one night, I got another Uber request. Pickup location, the edge of town, drop-off, an address I recognized immediately. It was the same address the man from Burger King had given me months earlier. My hands went numb on the steering wheel. I told myself it was coincidence. Addresses repeat. Towns are small. Fear makes patterns where none exist. I accepted the ride. The passenger was already standing outside when I arrived. Middle-aged man, average build, normal clothes. He got into the back seat and shut the door gently, like he didn't want to startle me. "Rough night?" he asked. I didn't answer. After a few minutes of silence, he spoke again. "You've been doing better," he said, stopping when you're supposed to. My heart started pounding. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said. He chuckled softly. "You do. The bridge, the woods, the warehouse years ago, the gym." I slammed on the brakes. The car skidded to a stop on the empty road. I turned around shaking and looked straight at him for the first time. It was the man from the drive-thru. Same voice, same calm tone. "You left someone behind once," he continued. "A long time ago. You were tired, in a hurry. You told yourself it wasn't your responsibility." I felt sick. Memory flooded back, clear and sharp. College, winter, a broken-down car on the shoulder, a man waving for help. I'd slowed, then driven on. I'd been late. I'd been scared. I'd told myself someone else would stop. Someone didn't. The passenger leaned forward. "He died out there," he said. "Froze before sunrise." I whispered, "How do you know?" He smiled in the rearview mirror. "Because I was the next car." My vision blurred. "I tried to save him," the man said, "but I was too late. I heard him breathing when I reached him. Then I didn't." Silence filled the car. "I don't want money," he said. "I don't want revenge. I want balance." "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means," he said, opening the door, "you don't get to walk past people anymore. Not ever." He stepped out of the car. Before shutting the door, he leaned in close and whispered, "If you do, someone else will pay for it." The door closed. The ride ended. There was no passenger record, no payment, no history. Just me, alone on the road, shaking. Since that night, I stopped for everyone. Broken cars, people waving, screams in the dark. Sometimes there's no one there. Sometimes there is. And sometimes, when I look in my mirror, I see headlights behind me, keeping score.